This is the open source bug triage for the Chef Workstation team on October 7th. I think I forgot to upload last week's, so I will be uploading 2 this week. Okay, let's go through our repos. And we're starting to get through the backlog of issues, so I may, depending on time and how the issues are looking, check out our board and see about our in-progress PRs and see if we, any of those need to be like closed or updated or need to ping any of the maintainers about. These PRs look the same. And we've got a new issue here. All right, this totally looks like a legit bug. And I'm going to ask this user if they're using the Chef Workstation Docker image, because I'd be curious if they just saw it there or if they're using that. Okay. Excuse me. Yeah, otherwise that looks okay. I'm going to take this from needs information. Hopefully, I'll use that as a reminder that we're looking to get some feedback on this issue. Okay. Um, I can definitely label this. Tim, do you have any, I don't know, feedback or any messages we'd want to post? Like, I understand what he's saying. I think we kind of just need to decide internally what we want to do.
Yeah, I mean that's one for management and product, right? Like that's not a. I don't think we should ship it anymore. If we do ship it, I think we should have a very stern warning against using it. But whether we decide to ship it or ship it with a warning or just not include it, has to probably come from product and management.
Question on that. So I would be product. Hi. So, let's say we don't ship it. I think I saw some documentation requests. Is that something you can help us with, you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things that are in flight / are going to happen. Some of what Phil wants is feature for feature parity between Food Critic and Cook Style.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to happen. Like some of it is possible, but having the exact functionality that was previously there, they're two completely different code bases. So there's going to be a breaking change to this, and it's going to make someone upset. I think the problem is going to happen is if we wait another year, he's just going to be pissed in a year.
Right.
Because it's still not going to be feature for feature compatible. I don't think we can get it to that. They're not the same thing.
Is there some way to qualify and quantify what the deltas are?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
Like, some of it could be done on the doc side to be like, this is the migration path, and that certainly has to happen. But the other part is just like, that was kind of a little bit spelled out in the blog post where I said goodbye, where it was like, this is not going to be a one-for-one replacement. And I think that there's an intent to that. Like, we don't want it to be a one-for-one replacement.
Yeah, I think if we can, have some kind of document specifying what the deltas are, and then also some documentation around like whatever this gentleman was asking for. Let's start there. And then I am leaning towards kind of where you're at. I've spoken with John Morrow on this topic, and I think we're both aligned with where your mind is at. So it's just putting together the right messaging to support that.
All right, I'm writing this on my whiteboard.
I wonder if there's, to alleviate some of the concerns about like Jim installing it, I wonder if there are small changes we could make to Workstation to support, like, so if his issue is that it gets installed into the home directory, is there something we could do about that via config somehow? Say, okay, well, you can here, write this config, and now Jim's will be installed and read from wherever you want them to be read and installed from. I don't know, something worth talking about this week.
Do we also have some sense as to like how widely shared Jim's challenges are with other customers? Like, is it just a small problem experienced by a small subset of users, or is it, a common problem? I think, like, in terms of roadmap and planning future-wise, right, definitely if it's something a lot of folks share, we can look at. But if it's just Jim, how widely is this an issue, I guess? Do we know?
It's a pretty big problem, and it's kind of a fundamental flaw of some of those features. Like, before we had Chef TK and you just had like a Ruby install, and you would just like Chef Gem or whatever, like you would just Gem install some knife plugin or do whatever you want. Like, it would mostly work. The way we have like really band-aided over some Ruby deficiencies in the last 5-6 years has made a lot of that stuff not work. Because like kind of what Phil was saying is like, oh, well, you don't have to maintain it. But the problem is not like maintaining the Food Critic code. It's trying to make like this entire ecosystem of tools we have like all dep solve. And it's quite possible that like some other product will make a change that requires some newer version of the library that like will no longer be able to package FoodCritic, and then we'll have to do all this stuff. And that kind of mess, like we take on that pain as a company and then ship people a known bundle of things that work. If they just go and like randomly install gems into their workstations, that pain becomes their problem. And that was like why we started shipping Chef DK, 2014 or whatever, was that was such a painful thing for people to do. And that required them to basically be software developers and understand dependencies and all that stuff, that we just started doing it for them. Every time I hear somebody talk about gem installing stuff, like they talk about some place where it ended in sadness because like something conflicted somewhere and it just didn't work.
Okay.
I don't know if FoodCritic would work. Maybe.
Okay. So how about we take this offline and I'll schedule a separate, deeper discussion, and then we'll figure out some kind of plan and then get back to this ticket.
That sounds good to me. This is a linked issue in there that I think is somewhat related that could be part of this discussion, where this is another gem that Jay is asking to get included in the Chef DK bundle. And he has some like reasonings about it that is, well, I want to lint Markdown that is part of my chef cookbooks. Maybe have a README, and in order to do that, I want my chef development environment to include this Markdown linter. Like, I think this one is short of like the technical issue that I can talk about further down here is one we could get pulled in, but it's totally along that same question of what tools do we include in the Chef DK to facilitate the workflows we want users to have, without kind of pulling in tools we need unnecessarily because it's a higher maintenance burden. So, yeah.
Yeah, we can maybe include this in that discussion as well.
And it's linked from this issue. So.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So we got that one. So we got. They I haven't heard back from them yet. Tim, do you know off the top of your head, does open source repo have definitions about when it's okay to close issues if people don't respond to them? Okay, no. Well, that's something we could do. I don't know, maybe 2 weeks.
I think our goal was to like set it to some number that was high enough that a person could go on a reasonable vacation.
Yep. And
come back. So probably not 7 days.
Yeah.
And then that led into the like, what is a reasonable vacation debate?
Sure.
US versus like, a 1 month European vacation. Like, do we wait 2 months to allow somebody to like take basically the whole summer for holiday but I don't know.
I think the fact that issues can be reopened makes me a little less worried about it, although.
Does Nell have a policy on this?
That was where we had the discussion.
Oh, I see. So that was not finished then.
Yeah, and I think that would, if whatever we came to would be documented as part of this stuff. So I can go, let me make a note to propose something with a pull request to the open source repo that we could then have at least a debate on that PR about what would be a reasonable time and whether we want to have that be per project or something that is across our whole open source community. I think with regular triage, I would feel better about having something like that, but it's also totally crappy if, like, what I don't want to happen is if someone opens an issue and we don't look at that issue for 6 months, and then we write a bot that goes and closes stuff to just like close an issue we haven't looked at. It definitely needs to be one that we've triaged and made an effort to ask a question on. So, okay. Close that issue. My Zoom windows. That was a message we had said last time. Okay, and then we're into, oh, never mind, those are epics. Yeah, since this is somewhat internal, we should leave this one open.
When was that one filed? Sorry, I missed it.
Okay. July 24th. So
okay. Yeah, is it John McCrae? He's our IT manager.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused on why that's in the Workstation repo.
So he switched from Chef Client to Chef Workstation. So I don't, like, that was one of my questions.
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't.
I could
we should just ping him and see what he's trying to do, because that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, totally. If anything, we need to uninstall the old. Yeah. Anyways, we should ping him.
Something's broken.
Yep. Yeah, so this is one of those ones that we weren't able to replicate, and it looks, it's not a super old version.
I thought we fixed some issues out of that gem.
That's what I'm thinking too. Like I'm thinking, since Salim wasn't able to repro this, that we could close it.
Pretty sure we fixed this with a update to Test Kitchen, actually. Like Lamont did something crazy where it checks for like 3 different conditions, and because they made a big breaking change to that parser.
Okay. These are gems. So yeah, this one is they're trying to Chef Jim install. And that's just not a workflow that works very well because of the way we app bundle. So
part of me feels like we should just get rid of that command. So I don't think it works. Like the stars all have to perfectly align for someone to be able to install something into our app bundle, and it just like works.
Yeah.
At the very least, there should be a really big warning at the top of that. Like, this probably doesn't do what you think it's going to do.
Yeah, we're gonna run into this because we use this, Jim.
Like you have to perfectly know the dependencies for that to work. And for a lot of people, they're just like, oh, well, I want to go install some random test kitchen plugin I found on the internet. And the likelihood of like the dependencies for that working with our like perfectly pinned depths in the app bundle are really, really slim. And then they're like, why didn't it work? And you're like, well, yeah, it doesn't really work like that.
I know since this bug was created, there was an update to that. We pushed an update to Kitchen OpenStack, so it does support Kitchen too. So I'm curious to see if that's still happening. But yeah, you're right on the app bundle part.
A good warning would probably be a good first step. Hey.
On a unrelated, somewhat related note, what would be the likelihood of being able to add this into Workstation eventually be?
I don't think OpenStack's probably something we're going to support.
Okay.
Just because like there's not a demand for that.
I think the biggest dependency problem is likely with the fog versioning.
Yeah, mostly because like we don't want to put fog back in. We're so happy to get fog out of our dep tree.
Oh, you don't have it in? Oh, well, yeah, I can see why.
Finally got it out when we switched to the AWS SDK.
Ah.
And that was a big win in terms of package size and depth. Hell, it was like fog depths were holding back other things. They were making things not work. So putting fog back would probably be a big negatory.
Oh, okay. It's good to know.
Do either of you know off the top of your head, is there another gem that manages OpenStack that's not fog-based?
With Kitchen, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think the answer to this is longer than I think Triage warrants. It'll have to be when we pick up this issue, how we want to address this. So, okay, so that should be all of the Chef Workstation issues. So we can look at Chef Apply. Yeah, that's the same. And support for specifying. That's the same. Looking for any I think this was a thing I was to go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I need to just go confirm that issue. Okay. Nothing new in Chef Apply. Just got the app and the CLI, and then go back to triaging old DK issues. Get that merged. These, I believe, have changed. And no new issues here. Chef Apply. This is an open PR that I need to get feedback on. That one's a draft. Let's see. Information. Didn't hear back from them. That was only a week ago. I need to work on that issue. Okay, so they are not experiencing it, but we could go trying to repro this and at least fix that error message. Okay, I don't think this needs more discussion. This will be another one that we'll have to figure out during implementation. Okay, that is all the issues for Chef Cly. Now we go back to Chef DK. That's still there. How configurable option to change default cookbook generation policy mode.
This does seem like a very valid thing for us to configure. Because if you just want to like generate all your cookbooks with Burks all the time, that used to be a default, right? And now like every single time you generate a cookbook, you have to add that like Burks flag to it to make it Burks generation. Yeah, the config to that would be nice.
Fair. Don't they do this like with a custom generator, or is like
this is the built-in generator?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a feature request, but that's probably a pretty valid one for us to do.
Okay. Oh man. I need to move this to Chef Cly, and it gets rid of all the labels. Oh, I see this locally sometimes.
Yeah, this is actually never going to work. And it's because we do really weird stuff to inject those Win32 gems in.
Yes.
And Dependabot will never support that funky workflow we take. So I think I disabled it in their UI, but you can just close that.
Okay.
A lot of our stuff is just not compatible with them. I mentioned it before and they were like, yep, not going to work.
Okay, inspect bug. I'm going to use inspect and shift K 4.4.14. That is interesting. Some kind of circular dependencies going on. Um, what am I trying to say? Emojis in the directory name. That is very interesting. And I wonder what I just want to inspect. Okay, well, we can triage this. Okay. Got that triaged. Kitchen test fails to build policy file lock. Okay, yeah. So I needed to go confirm. I put that one. Okay. The next issue. I'm thinking we should move this one to Chef Workstation. We're going to be adding new gems. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, timeline may not be complete until it finishes. Hopefully it adds back the comments from there. Well, hopefully those comments come back. How to add additional generator commands? Unix in the ShiftDK generators. Do things like shift generate library helpers. I guess okay, well, so the first thing you can do is move this, the chef cli. I would almost say the best way to do this is just like a pull request against this repo. If you think these generators are that useful, and if not, a custom generator cookbook that they use that builds in the libraries that they want. I don't know. Because if all they're trying to do is like, give me the boilerplate to make a new library in a cookbook, seems reasonable that we would want to do that.
Did we ever fully document how the generator stuff works? Like how to make your own? Because that almost seems like what that person's asking for is docs.
Right.
Yeah, a blog post, like most of our docs. And that probably wouldn't work because that blog post is going to refer to all like the Chef DK classes.
Yep.
Which aren't there anymore.
Yep. Okay. That is a very long message. I want to get their feedback about if generator option would help them out here. If getting a boilerplate helper library put in on cookbook creation would help. Let's see. Chef client runs slow from a Chef DK PowerShell prompt.
I think that's just Chef is slow on Windows.
Yeah.
Which we all know. Slim has fixed all of that, so we're fine.
Not yet.
I mean, this bug is saying it specifically is very slow from our Chef DK PowerShell instance.
I wonder if we add some additional paths. Since
Right.
a lot of the pain is parsing the Ruby gems paths. That makes it much worse.
But I'm going to move this to Chef Workstation. That's where that script, the custom PowerShell one, is managed. Okay. That one moved and triaged. And with that, I think we're about out of time, so we'll stop there. Give everybody an extra minute back. Cool. Thanks everybody for coming to Triage. I will get this recording posted up to our marketing team who is getting them published.